You walk outside at 7 in the morning. The pool that was perfectly clear on Friday is green by Sunday. Not slightly off, not a little hazy green. The kind of green that means you're not swimming today, not tomorrow, and probably not until sometime next week if you follow the standard pool store advice. You are looking at a service call. A bag of shock, a bottle of algae-filled, a clarifier, and 4 to 7 days of waiting while the pool slowly clears and you keep the kids away from the edge. That is the conventional timeline for a green pool. 4 to 7 days. $160 to $120 in products. A service call if it is bad enough. And at the end of it, clear water that will turn green again in 3 weeks, if the underlying conditions that produce the bloom are not addressed, which the pool store treatment rarely addresses because the pool store treatment is designed to clear the visible problem, not remove the cause. Here is what nobody at the pool store counter has ever said out loud. A green pool can be cleared in 12 hours. Not partially cleared, not improved enough to look better by Thursday. Cleared. 1 clear enough to swim in, blue to the bottom. Using 2 ingredients that together cost under $20 and are available right now at the grocery store and the hardware store without a service call, without a specialist, and without a single specialty bottle from the pool chemical wall. The 2-ingredient solution is not a hack. It is not a shortcut that sacrifices water safety. It is the same chemistry that pool professionals have used on commercial accounts for decades, applied in the correct sequence at the correct dose with the correct timing. 1. The pool store timeline of 4 to 7 days exists because the pool store method is not optimized for speed. It is optimized for product sales. The 2-ingredient method is optimized for one thing: clearing your pool as fast as the chemistry allows, which in most cases is 12 hours. 90% of pool owners have never been told this, because a 12-hour green pool solution eliminates an emergency service call, a bag of shock, a bottle of algae-filled, a clarifier, and 4 to 7 days of follow-up purchases. That is $80 to $200 in eliminated revenue from a single green pool event. Multiply that across millions of residential pools that go green every summer, and the business case for not telling you becomes straightforward. By the end of this video, you will know the 2 ingredients, the exact doses, the precise sequence, and the timing that makes 12 hours possible instead of 7 days. The conventional green pool treatment goes like this. You drive to the pool store. The counter recommends a bag of shock, a bottle of algae-filled, and usually a clarifier. You add them according to the instructions. You run the pump. You wait. 1. The water goes from green to cloudy blue to slightly cloudy to clear over 4 to 7 days. Each day you test, sometimes add more product, and wait. The 4 to 7 day timeline is not a chemistry limitation. It is a sequencing and dosing limitation. The pool store method uses a shock dose designed for routine weekly maintenance applied to a pool that needs a crisis intervention dose. It uses algae-filled, which kills algae cells chemically through a separate mechanism from chlorine, as a companion to insufficient shock rather than as a complement to adequate shock. And it uses clarifier to clump the dead algae particles so the filter can catch them, which helps with the visual result but does nothing for the chemistry that produced the bloom. The result is a slow, expensive, multi-product process that works eventually, but never as fast as the chemistry actually allows. A pool with adequate chlorine at correct pH in the correct concentration eliminates algae through oxidation faster than any other residential pool treatment. 1. The 4 to 7 day timeline is what happens when the chlorine dose is insufficient, the pH is not corrected first, or the timing of the addition gives up half the dose to midday UV before it finishes working. The 2-ingredient method fixes all 3 of those problems simultaneously. Correct pH before adding chlorine. Add chlorine at the correct crisis dose, not the maintenance dose. Add it at the right time so UV does not destroy it before it works. 12 hours later, the pool is clear because the chemistry was allowed to do what it does at full speed instead of at maintenance speed. 1 is muriatic acid, available at any hardware store for approximately $10 a gallon. This is not a specialty pool chemical. It is a masonry and construction acid that pool professionals adopted decades ago because it is the most effective and cost-efficient tool for bringing pH into the range where chlorine operates at maximum effectiveness. The pool store sells dry acid, sodium bisulfate, for pH reduction at $18 to $25 for a smaller quantity. Muriatic acid from the hardware store does the same job faster, more powerfully, and at a fraction of the cost. 1 ingredient. 2 is plain unscented liquid bleach, available at any grocery store for $3 to $5 per large jug. Sodium hypochlorite at 6% to 8.25% concentration. The same active compound as liquid pool chlorine at 10% to 12.5% in a lower concentration that requires proportionally more volume but costs significantly less per unit of active chlorine. For a green pool slam, the volume required is large enough that the cost difference between grocery store bleach and pool store liquid chlorine is meaningful. A full green pool slam on a 15,000-gallon pool using bleach costs $25 to $40 in product. 1. The same slam using pool store liquid chlorine costs $45 to $70. The reason this specific combination works faster than anything else available to a residential pool owner is the sequence they enable. Muriatic acid brings pH to the precise range where chlorine operates at maximum effectiveness before a single ounce of chlorine goes into the water. Then bleach delivers the crisis-level chlorine dose into water that is already at the perfect pH to use it, not into high pH water where 75% of the chlorine is inactive, on into correctly adjusted water, where every part per million of chlorine is working at full effectiveness from the moment it enters the pool. That sequence, pH correction before chlorine addition, sounds obvious, stated plainly. It is almost never what happens in practice when a pool owner discovers a green pool and reaches for a shock bag. The shock goes in first because shock is the obvious response to a green pool. The pH never gets checked because the pool looks bad and chemistry seems secondary to the urgent visible problem. And the shock dose works at a fraction of its potential because it is going into water where chlorine cannot function correctly. The two-ingredient method enforces the correct sequence by design. Muriatic acid first, always then bleach, always at dusk. That sequence is why 12 hours is possible. This section is the practical core of everything in this video. Do not skip any step. Every step that gets skipped adds hours to the timeline or prevents the 12-hour result entirely. Step 1. Test before you touch anything. Pull your drop test kit. 1. You need free chlorine pH, total alkalinity, and cyanuric acid. Write all 4 numbers down. Do not estimate. Do not use test strips for this process, because test strips are not accurate enough to dose a slam correctly. A drop test kit costs $15 to $30, and the accuracy difference justifies the cost on the first use. The numbers you're looking for before you start: alkalinity between 80 and 120 parts per million, pH between 7.2 and 7.4, slightly lower than normal maintenance range, because lower pH means chlorine operates at even higher efficiency during the slam. 1. Cyanuric acid, between 30 and 50 parts per million. Free chlorine at whatever the current level is, which in a green pool is typically near 0. Step 2. Fix alkalinity if it is out of range. If alkalinity is below 80, add baking soda from the grocery store. 1.5 pounds per 10,000 gallons raises alkalinity by roughly 10 parts per million. Broadcast it across the surface with the pump running. Wait 2 hours before proceeding. If alkalinity is above 120, the muriatic acid you add in step 3 will bring it down slightly. Proceed to step 3 and retest alkalinity afterward. 1. Step 3. Add muriatic acid to bring pH to 7.2. This is the critical step that most owners skip, and the step that makes 12 hours possible. Dilute the muriatic acid in a bucket of pool water first, adding acid to water and never water to acid. Pour it slowly at the deep end of the pool, away from the skimmer and lights, with the pump running. Wear eye protection and closed shoes. A gallon of muriatic acid is enough for multiple pH corrections across an entire season. Use what you need for this correction and store the rest safely. 1. For a pool sitting at pH 7.8, approximately 16 to 24 ounces of muriatic acid per 10,000 gallons brings pH to the 7.2 target range. Add half your estimated dose, run the pump for 30 minutes, retest, add the remainder if needed. Do not overshoot below 7.0. A pH below 7.0 etches plaster and corrodes metal fittings. The target is 7.2, not lower. Step 4. Calculate your slam chlorine dose. Your target-free chlorine level for the slam is determined by your cyanuric acid level. At 30 ppm CYA, your slam target is 12 parts per million of free chlorine. 1 at 40 ppm CYA. your target is 16 parts per million. At 50 ppm CYA, your target is 20 parts per million. These are not rough estimates. They are the concentrations at which chlorine can oxidize algae faster than the algae can reproduce, which is the definition of a working slam. To reach 12 parts per million of free chlorine in a 10,000-gallon pool using 6% bleach, you need approximately 252 ounces, roughly 2 gallons. To reach 16 parts per million, approximately 336 ounces, roughly 2.6 gallons. To reach 20 parts per million, approximately 420 ounces, roughly 3.3 gallons. One scale for your pool size. A 15,000-gallon pool needs 1.5 times these amounts. A 20,000-gallon pool needs twice these amounts. Step 5. Add the bleach at dusk, not in the morning, not in the afternoon. At dusk when the sun is off the water and UV cannot destroy the chlorine dose before it finishes working. Pour it slowly around the perimeter of the pool away from the skimmer. Pre-dilute in a bucket if your pool is smaller and the concentration seems high. Run the pump through the entire night, minimum 8 hours, ideally 12. Step 6. Brush the pool thoroughly before adding the bleach, and again the following morning. Brushing breaks up algae colonies on pool surfaces and forces cells into the water column, where the elevated chlorine can reach them. A slam that is not accompanied by thorough brushing takes significantly longer because algae colonies on surfaces have a protective layer that reduces chlorine penetration. Brush walls, floor, steps, corners, and behind the ladder, every surface, every time. Step 7. Test chlorine at dawn. 1. If free chlorine is still at or near your slam target level, the pool is clear or nearly clear, and the slam is complete. If free chlorine has dropped significantly below your slam target, the algae load was heavy enough to consume most of the dose overnight. Brush again. Add another bleach dose to return to slam target. Run the pump through the following day. Test again the following dawn. Most pools require 1 to 2 overnight treatments. Severely green pools may require 3. The 12-hour result surprises pool owners who have spent years treating green pools the conventional way. 1. The same pool that took 5 days to clear with a pool store regimen cleared overnight with 2 ingredients and the correct sequence. Same algae, same pool. Completely different result, and the explanation is not a stronger chemical. It is pH. A pool store shock dose added to water at pH 8 delivers roughly 25% of its potential chlorine effectiveness. A bleach dose added to water at pH 7.2 after a muriatic acid correction delivers close to 90% of its potential effectiveness. The difference between 25% and 90% effectiveness at the same concentration is not a marginal improvement. It is the difference between a 5-day result and a 12-hour result. The chemistry is the same. The water it is going into is different, and the water is different because one method checks pH first and the other method skips it. This is why every video on this channel repeats the same instruction in the same order. Alkalinity first, pH second, then chlorine. Not because it is a rule someone invented, because the chemistry of how chlorine works makes the sequence the most important variable in how fast and how effectively it works. Change the sequence and you change the result. 1. Correct the sequence, and the pool store's 7-day timeline becomes 12 hours. I put it all together in a 39-page guide called the Pool Carter Playbook, From Green to Crystal Clear. Normally $67, right now just $29.99. It covers the complete grocery store method with exact doses for every application, the full slam process with troubleshooting for difficult pools, a printable weekly routine, and the 5 numbers that run your entire pool all season. I went from spending $600 a season to under $150, and my water has never looked better. The link is below this video. 1 7-day refund guarantee. Instant PDF download. Let's finish this. There is a variable in the 12-hour timeline that the method cannot control and that will extend the result if it is not addressed before the slam begins. The filter, a green pool slam, produces a large quantity of dead algae cells that need to go somewhere. They go to the filter. A clean filter running at normal pressure handles this load and turns the water from green to clear as it captures the oxidized particles through the overnight pump run. A dirty filter running at high pressure cannot handle this load efficiently. 1. The water clears more slowly, the filter clogs with dead algae, pressure rises further, flow drops, and the pump is circulating less water per hour than the slam requires. Before you start the 2-ingredient slam, Check filter pressure. If it is running 8 to 10 pounds per square inch above normal, clean it first. Backwash a sand filter. Hose a cartridge filter thoroughly. Every pleat top to bottom, not a rinse. Add fresh DE to a DE filter after backwashing. A clean filter before the slam starts is as important as the correct chlorine dose. Both are required for the 12-hour result. One without the other extends the timeline. Plan to clean the filter again mid-slam if pressure rises significantly. Dead algae load during a severe green pool slam can clog a clean filter within 12 hours. A mid-slam backwash or cartridge rinse maintains the flow rate that keeps the chemistry working. Owners who clean the filter at the start and once mid-slam consistently report the fastest clearing times. Owners who clean the filter at the start and leave it for the duration of the slam report slower results on heavily affected pools. A green pool slam is a recovery process. It is necessary when the prevention system failed or was never in place. The two-ingredient method makes the recovery as fast as chemistry allows. But the goal is never to get good at recovering from green pools. The goal is to build the system that makes green pools structurally impossible. 1. That system has 4 components that this channel has covered across multiple videos and that are worth stating together in one place, because seeing them as a connected system rather than individual tips is what makes the difference between an owner who occasionally uses the slam process and an owner who never needs it. Component 1, the borate buffer. Borax from the laundry aisle, 20 pounds for a 10,000-gallon pool, established once at the start of the season. 1. This creates the pH stability that keeps chlorine working at full effectiveness all day instead of degrading through the afternoon as pH climbs. Hotel pools use this system. Pools with established borates do not experience the daily pH drift that creates the chlorine gap algae needs to establish. Component 2. The daily morning test. Free chlorine and pH with a test strip, 2 minutes before anything else. The morning test shows the overnight low, the point where the pool was least protected while you slept. 1. Catching a low chlorine reading on Tuesday morning and adding bleach Tuesday evening prevents the green pool that would have appeared by Saturday. The owners who never need the slam are not lucky. They are testing daily and catching drifts before they become problems. Component 3. Correct pump run time. 8 to 12 hours daily in summer. Every day without exception. Warm, still water is the environment algae requires. A pool with the pump running 10 hours a day and the filter clean is a pool that is physically difficult for algae to establish in, regardless of chemistry. 1. Circulation and filtration do half the work that chemistry gets all the credit for. Component 4. The weekly brush. 3 minutes on Wednesday or whatever day fits your schedule, corners, steps, walls, behind the ladder. These are the dead zones where algae starts. A brush breaks up any early-stage colony before it becomes visible. Pool owners who brush every single week without exception almost never experience visible algae, regardless of other chemistry variables. The brush is the simplest and most consistently underused tool in residential pool care. 4 components. One of them costs under $10 and lasts the season. One of them takes 2 minutes every morning. One of them is a pump run time setting you adjust once. One of them is a 3-minute brushing session once a week. None of them require a pool store visit. None of them require a service tech. All of them together produce the pool that never needs the slam, because the conditions for a green pool never form. The 2 ingredients work because they enforce the correct sequence. Muriatic acid ensures chlorine goes into water where it can operate at maximum effectiveness. 1 bleach at dusk ensures the maximum dose works through the night without UV destroying it before it finishes the job. 2 ingredients, correct sequence, correct timing. 12 hours, the pool store method fails to hit 12 hours not because the chemistry is weaker, but because the sequence is wrong. The dose is insufficient for a crisis situation, and the timing is never specified as a make-or-break variable. A shock bag added in the afternoon to a pool at pH 8 no is a shock bag operating at roughly 20% of its potential. 1. The same chlorine dose in the 2-ingredient method operates at close to 90%, same chemistry. Different sequence, different result. The owners who have been fighting green pools for years with a conventional method are not doing something fundamentally wrong. They are doing the right thing in the wrong order at the wrong time of day with an insufficient dose for the situation. Change those 3 variables and the pool clears in 12 hours instead of 7 days. Not because of a secret compound, because of this sequence that the $3 bottle and the $10 bottle force you to get right. 1. If this is the slam that finally works when others did not, drop it in the comments. What was your pool situation going in, and how long did it take to clear? Your result helps the next owner know what to expect and builds the record of what this method actually does in real pools across a real summer. Every video on this channel works the same way. Real numbers, no sponsors, no pool store upsell. If that is useful to you, subscribe. This channel reads the water, not the marketing.